Hello again, and welcome to Winning with the Wrangler at Dick Powell's Leadership Corner, brought to you by Earth, Wind, Fire, Water Training and Development, where our passion is building leaders of today and tomorrow. Leaders, the information on today's program was gathered from many different places and many different people. If you hear yourself in our conversation today, please remember, it is not all about you. Now, today we're going to talk about something that's near and dear to me. It's recruitment. Now, even recruitment in a volunteer organization or recruitment into a paid organization, they're two different things. We need to look at this volunteer situation because I'll tell you what, if you want to really learn true leadership, learn to be a leader in a volunteer organization. Now, first of all, I want to go over the reasons people give, why that they don't want to serve. And when we look at these, I want you to not be too shocked. The first one is, quite frankly, no one ever asked them. And that one really kind of shocked me a little bit. I was told by a recruitment area that, hey, we've asked everybody. And I said, oh. And so I went out and about and started talking to people. Well, they said, well, they just never asked me. Personal invitations. Number two, they said that, people had a fear of responsibility. In some cases, that might be true. Usually it's fear of not knowing what the heck they're getting into. Number three, I believe, is a true statement. They suffer from burnout. They've been there, done that, have 10 t-shirts. They've been involved for year after year, and they're just burnt out. Number four, they feel intimidated by present workers. That's something that we can overcome when we start talking about how to overcome them. This intimidation, Miss Willy-nilly, she's been in charge of that forever. Think about it. Number five, they do not know or understand what needs to be done. I believe that's really something we need to discuss a little bit further. Number six is they have a preoccupation with their potential agenda, their personal agenda, and their busyness. I'm so busy. Number seven, they feel untrained, ill-equipped, or ungifted. I want you to think about that one just a little bit. We as leaders, what responsibility do we have? Number eight, they're unaware of the options available. Number nine, they don't own the cause. That's a big one. And number 10, they are selfish, lazy, and indifferent. You see, recruiting volunteers, and we get these 10 reasons of why. Let's look at some positive pieces that we as leaders can put into place. You see, I don't think it's all that hard, but we do need to be intentional about what we're doing. The first one on the how to change this thought process, or how to recruit volunteers in a positive manner. Number one, schedule relationship builders with the new people to explain the opportunities to be involved. Now, that's a highly important piece. If someone new comes into your organization, comes into your nonprofit, and they come in and they might not have a clue of what is there to be offered, where they could fit in, where they should fit in. And not having this relationship builder, They don't know you. You don't know them. You don't know what their gifts or talents are, and they have no idea of the opportunities that could be presented to them. This thing of building relationships, either in organizations, for profit or nonprofit, it just is such an important piece that we see overlooked all the time as we go in to help organizations, especially nonprofits, churches, build their organization. Number 2, offer instruction to everyone for every position. Now, this is one I'm going to highly just jump on just with both feet. I've been preaching it for a long time because it's no secret, or shouldn't be any secrets about all the opportunities or jobs that are needed to be done within the organization. The who does what, when, where, how becomes such an important piece if you're a new person into this. Or it could be such an important piece to the person who has been there a long time and had no clue. When we offer instruction about all different parts and pieces, what's involved, the time commitment, maybe it's a financial commitment. When we put that all forth out front, we build a relationship that, hey, all things are possible. I mean, think about that. Excuse me for a second. Now, I want you to think about that because it becomes such an important piece. Offer instruction to everyone on every opportunity. We were in a organization, a church, and they only seemed that they wanted to teach their leadership. And everybody else around them, it was a secret. What do they do behind closed doors? What do they do in that position? What's that all about? And we said, why don't you teach everybody, and then who knows? You might just have a better understanding of what's going on everywhere. Well, the upper level leadership fought me against it until someone came up with an idea that if everybody knew what was going on and everybody knew the different opportunities, wouldn't it be easier to recruit? Boy, those thought processes started to change. And when they did, they saw people actually stepping forward instead of stepping away. When they invited everybody to the training opportunities, the instruction opportunities, the first ones were small because the trust wasn't built. But as they went through every 6 months doing some instruction, it was amazing. More and more people came. More and more people really wanted to know what was going on within their organization and how it was done. They really wanted to know the rules to the game. Wow, what a difference it has made within that organization in today's world. Number 3, match gifts and talents with opportunities. You're not going to know someone's gifts and talents unless you've built a relationship. So going and saying, could you do this one thing for us, without knowing their gifts and talents, you might be matching the wrong person to the wrong opportunity. Could be why they turned you down. Could be why there was no commitment nor buy-in. And it could be all the things that are up on the top list. We found over and over that people who said they were burnt out were approached and built a relationship of the things they really loved to do and loved to be a part of. The commitment they had to this one thing, they weren't so burnt out after all. They really got excited, had an enthusiasm to go in and jump in. It really does make a difference. But you need to match gifts and talents but you can't know gifts and talents unless you build relationship. And I'm going to tell you what, even in a for-profit organization, no relationships, no building. It just doesn't happen. We as leaders need to be intentional about what we do and how we do it. Number 4, this is a big one. I learned this, by the way, when I was a Cub Master, just so you know. That's been a few years. Constantly publicize the availability of opportunities for involvement. I was amazed that so many times we go places and they put up a sheet of paper someplace on a wall and say that these things are available, and they think that everybody's going to go by and really read that, but people don't. You see, people do what people see and people repeat what people hear. And if we don't constantly publicize the availability of the opportunities, we're never going to get anyone new. And then we go, well, we can't recruit anybody. Well, if they don't know what needs done, how are they going to know, they to volunteer? Way back as a Cub Master, we couldn't get any volunteers, so I made a big list of everything that needed done. And every meeting I would say, these things need done. They're not going to get done by themselves. What can we do about it? I didn't ask them to raise their hand in front of everybody. I built relationships. And as I built relationships, I found out what gifts and talents people had. And many times I would go and do the recruitment on a single one-on-one basis. Could they do this one thing, one time during the year? You see what a difference it made. But if I didn't constantly do that, they weren't constantly reminded of the things that need done. Quite frankly, that was a big piece. And it was hard to learn, by the way. Encourage involvement with membership. In other words, as people join in, make sure that your list of involvement opportunities are readily handy. And start building a relationship. Where do they fit in? Where could they fit in? How could they become involved? You see, it's more than, this is such an intentional piece that we as leaders, I believe, sometimes kind of get overrun with the day-to-day, and we kind of forget about what our job is. And then I've been in other organizations that say, well, that recruitment stuff, they're their own little group. And when we talk to them, we find out, quite frankly, that they don't get any support from anybody. And they're not recruiting because everybody they've asked said no. Instruction, instruction, instruction. Intentionality is a big, huge part of this opportunity. So encourage, as people join in, as people join up, encourage them to go ahead and get involved. Where do you think you'd like to give it a try? What's the worst going to happen? It doesn't work out. You want to try something different? What a great deal. Come on. Instruct and cast the vision that each person has a gift and talent that is needed within the organization. This is so important that I would encourage every leader of every organization to be intentional about this encouragement. You see, casting the vision that every person is important, that every person has a gift and talent, and it's important to the entire group, the entire team, the entire organization. that gift and talent be shared within it, that they're important, you're glad they're there, you're glad they're a part of it. We sometimes kind of get overrun in our thought process and don't do that. This has to become very intentional. And this in itself is going to cause us to reevaluate how we're doing things. Can you cast the vision? Can you actually, as you talk to someone, tell them how important it is that they're there, how much they're needed, and then provide some opportunities for them. Create entry-level positions for new and apprehensive people. Entry level. Do this one thing. Can you help us with one thing? Can you see, that helps them build their ability to say yes. It also helps them with their ability to say, oh, I can do that. Oh, I do have that gift and talent. Oh, I see how I fit into the organization. Oh, you see, that in itself is quite wonderful. Oh, I'm going to make it happen. How great is that? I mean, come on. Entry-level positions could be like me, preschool. Can you cut out this little pieces, and do that? And next thing you know, you're telling stories or doing something else. You see those little entry pieces? Help people feel comfortable and help them realize how important they are to the organization. Use realistic commitment blocks of time and talent to share the load. If you are trying to recruit someone, make sure that you're always including all the parts and pieces. Time commitment. It's only one meeting a month, plus meeting with the people within your group once a month, plus emails, phone calls, all those other parts and pieces. The big joke when I was in one organization, it was only an hour a week. And it really was more like an hour a day. And those days added up, and it wasn't any big deal, but you had to be on top. And they needed to be more truthful. I remember when I was asked to be a leader in one of our organizations, and they said, well, it's just one meeting a month. Well, it was. That meeting was 3 hours. And then during the month, I really needed to be on some committees. So that was another 3 or 4 hours. And then there was a budget piece that went with it, with this opportunity to be one of the leadership people. They didn't tell me the whole pieces, and I was not real happy about it. This is where I learned you need to be really upfront with people when you're asking them and you're recruiting them to come into your volunteer organization. You see, time, talent, commitment all go together. But you need to tell them the whole picture. If you're not telling them the whole picture, how can I say this politely? You're not telling the truth. You know what you're doing. And that will turn people off. And here's the thing about that. You turn people off. Do you think they're going to keep that to themselves, or they're going to go out and talk to people? Well, they talk to people. And this makes your recruitment even harder now because you've become untrustworthy. And untrustworthy ruins many organizations. It comes from not telling the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you goodness, the whole truth of what this opportunity is going to involve. You see, when they came around to me and told me, said, you're on the board of directors and it's only going to cost you $10,000 a year. They didn't tell me when I took the board of directors. I just got a bill. You see, that is unscrupulous, and you need to never do it. You just say I wasn't on that board very long. But anyhow, please remember, tell the whole truth. Be realistic about blocks of time, budget. Rotate as many of the positions as possible, making room for new people. A long time ago, when I was much younger, we learned a concept called two-deep leadership. Two-deep leadership enables you to bring on a person who is new to that world, new to that position. It also gives you a backup. And also, two in a team can work miracles versus one trying to do it all. It's a great place to bring those new people on board. Let them give it a try. You just never know, they might shine. You don't know what their gifts and talents are unless you do this. Rotate as many things as you can. One of the things we found in large organizations is when we had people who had worked in many different positions and understood different parts of the company on a more open area, they were better leaders because they understood the people down doing the welding as well as the people doing the stitching. I want you to think how important that is. How important it is to make sure the people who are getting the sanctuary ready as well as the people going to be singing later today. How they go together. And here's the big one. And if you've heard nothing else, constantly say thank you to each person for making a difference in the organization. The simple thought of saying thank you carries so much weight. I've often said to people, the little handwritten note or saying thank you in front of others carries so much more weight than you can imagine. But when it's forgotten, when it's not given, the people who have given their time and talents and gifts, even though they've gained from it, oftentimes say, gee, I wasn't appreciated. And I'm not so sure I'm going to do that again. This is where we need to constantly think about what we're doing as leaders. Leadership, it's really pretty simple. As you're walking through or you're seeing people doing all those jobs that need to be done in your nonprofit, it doesn't take much to stop by and say, hey, I really appreciate what you're doing. I appreciate what you're doing for this organization. Thank you. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your involvement. Thank you for being here. It didn't take much out of your way to take and make that happen. But boy, what a difference it'll make in your people. So if you hear someone say, well, no one ever asked me, I want you to realize that is a personal piece. And we need to be recruiting on a face-to-face, talking to the people, but we need to make sure we provide all the information of what it is we're asking them to take and do. And don't fib about it. If they say that they have fear of responsibility, fine. Ask them about some place that doesn't have a lot of responsibility, some place they can take and fit into where, they just really need to show up and help out. You see, the responsibility on their side might be just showing up, but the responsibility on your side is being truthful and building relationships with the person. If they say they're suffering from burnout, they've just been there, done that, have all the t-shirts they ever want, never want to do it again. I'm too old. I've heard it all. Spend some time. Find out what they have done, what they enjoy doing, what makes them happy. Where do they feel they can do the best job? Because everybody can do something. So if they're burnt out, find out why. Take the time. Build a relationship. Make it happen. If they say they're intimidated by the other workers, you need to take and seek out those other workers and find out why this person feels intimidated by them. And if there's a little conflict there, solve it. Maybe they saw them doing it for a number of years and didn't think they'd ever have an ability to take and even get inside that world. And this happens more than we know. They do not know or understand what needs to be done. This is a huge one. Over and over, we have found that people have no clue of what it takes to run an organization, especially in a church. They just don't know. They don't know what they don't know what they don't know. They see things happening. They see the same people happening all the time, same people doing all the time, and they just, well, I don't know what needs to be done. No one conveys it. No communication's happening. Or the communication is once a year on a bulletin board. It just doesn't work, so you need to do better. They have a preoccupation with their personal agenda or busyness. You know, we're all busy. And I had a one of the pastors who I knew, he'd ask me, "How you doing, Dick?" I said, "Well, I'm really busy." He said, "Look, never say that. Because when you say you're busy, people really believe that you're busy, so they're not going to ask you to help them out or do something. They're going to feel bad about taking your time. So are you really busy, or are you just using that as an excuse?" Just saying. They feel untrained, ill-equipped, or ungifted. Untrained, ill-equipped, ungifted. Leaders, what's our job? Our job is to build more leaders. So if they feel untrained or ill-equipped, we need to ask ourselves, are we equipping our people to carry on, carry over, carry back to old Virginia? If we're not doing that, if we can't answer that question, we need to realign it. If they say they're unaware of the options, we need to get that list up and talk about it and reiterate it and tell people about it all the time. Share that knowledge. Come on. Don't go, "Well, we couldn't get anybody to volunteer, so we're not doing that this year." That's just hokum. Make it work. They don't own the cause? You betcha. No involvement, no commitment. No involvement, no commitment. I mean, that's just a fact. So they're not committed to it. They're not going to be involved to it. You might want to think about that. This last one, I don't believe in my heart, quite frankly, that anybody is selfish, lazy, or indifferent. I believe they just really don't know what they don't know what they don't know, and no one's taken the time to get to know them. That is what it's all about. Now, I see our time has come to a close, and like usual, my hope is that on behalf of myself, Dick Powell, and the whole Leadership Corner team, we want to say thank you for being a part of today's program. Our hope is that you've received a nugget of wisdom and guidance that will help you become a better leader. And if you have any questions or comments on today's program, don't hesitate. Give us a call right here at 727-422-1833. Send me an email, dick@ewfw.org. Go to the website, www.ewfw.org. And you know what? When you're ready to have me come out and do a leadership seminar at your location, please give us a call and do it quickly. We book up rather quickly over the year. So 727-422-1833. Let's make it happen. And until next time, this is DW the Wrangler saying, ride hard, ride fast.